Welcome to Long Lost Friends. I'm Elizabeth Eve King.
And I'm Andrea Goyan.
I'm a painter, performer, writer, Pilates teacher, animal lover, and biologist.
No, I'm a painter, performer, writer, Pilates teacher, animal lover, and okay, I'm not a biologist, but we're long lost
friends. Today, we're delighted to be talking again to the amazing Steve Barnes, science fiction, fantasy. He's written screenplays, comics, anything you can think of, bestseller, Nebula Awards, Nebula
I was
Awards.
nominated, didn't win it.
Nominated. Okay, nominated for a Nebula Award and other things. And so today we're going to be asking about how many steps is this?
5. It's called the Magic Formula. M-A-G-I-C.
Magic Formula.
It's an acronym.
Okay, the magic formula for success in whatever you want.
Yeah, pretty much. Basically, let me give you a little bit of background. My career in Hollywood was interrupted during the 20-something years ago, 25, 20, almost 30 years ago. After the Chatsworth earthquake, my first wife decided she didn't want to live in Los Angeles anymore, both because of the earthquake and because of some bad things that have been going on in Hollywood. So she decided she wanted to move to the Northwest. I had a choice between either keeping my career or being a dad. And as painful as it was to move away from Hollywood, it was no choice. You know, my daughter, she's my baby, you know, just so I was going to go. So it spent 10 years up in the Northwest, during which that first marriage fell apart. Got married again after my daughter graduated high school. We moved down to Southern California, and I looked to pick my career back up again. And my agent, who was retiring, told me that in the time I'd been gone, Hollywood had changed, that people no longer wrote scripts on assignment, that it was all done in-house by writers' rooms, and that they didn't hire anybody for writers' room over the age of 40. And I was already over 50. So I said, oh my God, I'm screwed. You know, what have I done? I didn't have an agent. I didn't have, you know, my career stats didn't matter. So it was like I thought panicking, and I just kind of kept putting my head down and said, well, look, what moves can I make? Let me just make the moves that I can make. So let me, you know, make as much money as I can, keep learning, keep networking. And over the next 6 years, I managed to start putting something together again. I had an agent, even though it was an animation agent. I did an episode of Ben 10 Alien Force. I was story editor on a project with Vin Diesel at BET that fell through. But I was starting to get things back together. And then my wife's mother contracted cancer, and we needed to move back to Atlanta to take care of her in hospice. Basically, it was shattering because I realized on an abstract level the necessity for what was going on here. I mean, it was important that to not only be with her mom, but it was also devastating emotionally. If I had not had a son, I probably would have stayed here. But there was no way that my kid was going to grow up without me, because I know what it had cost me to not have my dad. So once again, you know, I moved back there, and it destroyed me. I mean, the map of reality that I'd had since childhood, where I said, I'll do this, then I'll do this, and I'll do this, and I'll do this. You know, it had sustained me since childhood. And all of a sudden, I was blown off that map. I didn't know where I was anymore. I just didn't. So the only thing I knew was that I was a dad. So I could anchor myself by being sure I was there for Jason every single day. We would have certain things. But I also began to ask questions. Well, how do I get out of this box? How do I get out of the box? And I realized it's that thing I said before, the instructions on how to get out of the box are written on the outside of the box. So I said, well, the way I created my success the first time was by researching what successful people do. So books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is just a fantastic book analyzing how successful people did it in the 1920s and 1930s. So I started going back and rereading some of the books that I'd read then. And one of them was a book I had not read then called The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. It was a book that rumor mill had it, that the book The Secret was based on this book. So I read this book. It seemed very interesting. It's a thin book. It's no more than about 80 pages. It only took me a couple hours to read it. And I put it down, and I could not remember a single thing out of that book. Nothing. And I said, what? So I picked it up and I read it again, put it down. Could not remember a single thing in that book. I said, I remembered attending a transformational workshop back in the 60s, early 70s, perhaps. It was in the 70s. That's what it was. And it was one of these things where they lock you in the room for 2 weekends and don't let you go to the bathroom unless they say so forth and so on. Yeah. You know, I did a lot of that kind of stuff. And it was late at night at one of those workshops. And the teacher brings up a subject, money. And I'm really sleepy. And I noticed that a whole chunk of the room kind of goes, ugh. And other people sit up and listen. So that's interesting. About a half hour later, he brings up another subject, sex, I think it was. And a whole different chunk of the room wakes up and a whole different chunk of the room falls asleep. And I sat back and said, isn't that interesting? My interpretation was the people woke up or ready to hear what he had to say. If you're not ready to hear what he has to say, you go unconscious. There was something in that book I did not want to hear that was desperately important that I not hear. So I said, I've got to find out what it is. So I came up with a strategy. I read one page at a time, and I reread it and reread it and reread it and reread it until I could synopsize it in like a couple of lines. Then I'd move to the next page, and I'd reread it and reread it and reread it and reread it until I could synopsize it in a single line. And I went through the whole book like this, and I ended up with about 7 pages of notes. Then I read over those 7 pages and boiled them down. And that came up with about 3 pages. And I read those 3 pages and boiled them down again. And I kept going and I kept going and I kept going until I came up more or less. It's just a little different now than it was then, with the following formula. MAGIC. M and it equals map or model. A is action. G is gratitude. I is intention. And C is courage or conviction. And it's map times action times gratitude times intention times courage or conviction equals results. I looked at that, and I'm going to ask you a question. Why was that equation multiplicative as opposed to additive? Really important question. I'll give you a clue if you can't come up with an answer. Let's hear it.
Well, I would just say you need them all, right, together to build on. And if you're not, you need the gratitude to see what's around you. Map, you need your map to know where you're going. Action, is it there? They build on each other.
And I was going to say, taking off a little bit of what you're saying, Elizabeth, because each step along the way, you have to multiply it with the other steps to get a greater sum. Is that almost?
I'm going to give you one clue. What if you had to rate yourself from 0 to 9 in each of those arenas? What now is the difference between a multiplicative and an additive equation?
Elizabeth.
No, I was going to say, Andrea, this is
No,
your
I was going to say, Elizabeth and I have a thing about how we're both terrible at math, terrible at commas. So you're like my brain's shutting down because it's a math question.
Okay,
no,
well, let's go ahead.
No, go on.
Okay, map, model, unless you have some, in other words, if you want to accomplish something, you find somebody who's already done it and you study what they did and you do that. Simple as that. Action, it means you need to be taking action on a daily basis. Remember that thing about a sentence a day?
Uh-huh.
Need gratitude. if you're not grateful for what you have in your life right now, you're not creating the room to have greater blessings come in. You know, that you actually need to focus on the positivity. There's always pain. You know, Viktor Frankl, you know, he knew in a concentration camp, if he did not focus his mind on why to stay alive, why to stay positive, what is beautiful life, you simply die. You simply don't stop waking up in the morning. Intentions, clear goals. You have to know what it is that you want to achieve. Most people just know what they don't want. You got to know what you want. And the third and the last thing, courage or conviction. You must believe that you can and should take the efforts that you're trying to take. If you do not believe that these efforts will take you closer to pleasure and further and moving away from pain, you will not act. Anytime you see somebody who's stuck, I'm talking about a homeless person, well, why don't they just get a job? Or, you know, this person, that they cannot see a way to take action that will move them away from pain. If they could, they would. And the answer to it is, if you have an equation, you can't multiply by zero. A single zero in the entire chain cancels out everything. You've got to have a map or model. You have to take constant action. You have to allow yourself to feel gratitude and positive emotions. You have to know where you're going, and you have to believe you can get there. If you lack any one of those 5 things, you are dead in the water. You will swim in a circle until you get tired, cramp up, and drown. You must have an idea of what steps you can take. You must take action. You have to control your emotions enough to feel thankful for what you have. You have to have a clear idea of where you're trying to go, and you have to believe. You have to have the courage. You have to find some way to have faith that you can get there.
Okay, so one question.
Yes.
I think the courage might be how do you get that belief?
Okay, so let me back up for just a second. I realized that the reason my mind went blank was because I didn't want to be grateful. I wanted to hang on to my anger about having had to move to Atlanta. And what I was being told was, in order to get back to California, I had to be grateful to be in Atlanta. It was one of the hardest things I have ever done. But as soon as I accepted that, it was just a matter of, okay, well, what resources do I need? So how do you get courage?
How do you get grateful to be in a place?
Yes,
how do you get to the grateful place?
How do you get to grateful? You find the things in life that you're grateful for. If gratitude is a matter of 3 things, like I said, or rather, emotion is created by 3 things: what you focus on, what you say, and the way you use your body. So what I do is literally every morning, I have I call the magic ritual. And this is in our Warrior's Journey course, www.realwarriorsjourney.com. Like I said, I'll give away the seeds, but if you want me to slice the bread, you're going to pay for it. What I literally do 6 days a week is you choose some activity, some physical activity that you can do for 10 to 20 minutes. It could be dancing, it could be walking, it could be running, it could be rebounding, it could be jumping rope. I don't care. Just something that you can do continuously for 20 minutes. During the physical activity, you then chant, you do affirmations about the magic formula. I will start by giving gratitude for my wife and my daughter, the people who love me and trust me, for being, for having a healthy mind and body. I mean, literally say this out loud. Spend, 3 to 5 minutes talking about that. Then I'll move on to the actions I have to take today as implicit by the role models I have, because I also give gratitude for my teachers. My teachers will include those role models. People like Larry Niven is somebody that I give great gratitude for every day, 6 days a week. Just like, it was, yeah, I went out and I found him. Yes, I did the work. Doesn't matter. Larry is a magnificent human being who became one of the most important people in my life. And I thank God for him every day. Okay. Also for my wife, for my karate instructor, things like this. I will actually speak these things out loud, and I will carry my body, my face, my voice as if I am grateful, as if I feel powerful. For just 10 to 20 minutes a day, I will speak my way through each step in the magic formula as if I believed it. See, it's you're bringing your breath, your mind, your body, your emotions all into the same place at the same time. You're becoming like a human laser. The most that most people get is like a human magnifying glass. They take their stuff and focus it on a point. A magnifying glass can take the light of the sun and burn a hole in a piece of paper, but a laser coordinates the amplitude of the different experiences, of the different things, the different wavelengths, and you can use that to punch a hole in a diamond. That's the difference between a magnifying glass and a laser. The magic ritual where you every single morning do this for between 10 and 20 minutes. All you need to do, if you need more encouragement, if you need more power, you walk a little faster while you're doing it. You speak a little louder. You strut a little bit. You put more physical stress on yourself. Then you hold your mud in the midst of that physical stress. Keep yourself focused on the things that you're positive about. For just 10 to 20 minutes, you give your mind and body an experience of what am I like at my best. This is who I am. I strut. Yes, the world has done everything it can to stop me. Bring it. Bring it on. You have no idea who I am. You have no idea what I've been through. Bring it. We can die together. This is not, you are not going to stop me. Life is not going to stop me. Nothing will stop me from being the man I need to be, to the beautiful woman that I love, or the son that I adore, the teachers who have trusted me, the students who trust me. This is where I stand. For 10 to 20 minutes, you move as if that's true, as if you're in a play, playing the most confident person in the world. You do that, I swear to God, in 1 month, you can completely change your life.
I totally believe that. I mean, like I said, your combination of, it's not a combination of the physical. It always bothers me when people say mind over body, because your mind is in your body. It's not like separate and part of it. It's one thing.
Right.
And that, I think, is something that you
and your emotions
epitomize.
Well, look, man, that's what the martial arts are about. I can't be thinking about, somebody pulls a knife on me, I better not be thinking about my taxes. I better be right there at that moment. But where else do you have to be that? How about when you're making love? Do you want your mind to be someplace else? I hope not. What about when you're playing with your cat? You're playing with your pigeon. Doesn't that pigeon just be with the pigeon? Just be with the pigeon. Chopping wood, chop wood. Carrying water, just carry water. When sleeping, just sleep. Just the simplest thing, to just be who you are, where you are, when you are, doing what it is that you do, because it is a natural outgrowth of who you are, is the simplest thing is also the most extraordinary. Every baby knows it, and every person on their deathbed knows it, but in between we forget it.
That's so true.
Wow. Another wow moment.
Another wow moment.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell us the best thing you learned this week?
You guys are fun.
Oh, thanks. That's great.
Yeah.
And I am going to tell you that there's a new kind of, did I use this wasp keyhole surgery? I don't think so.
You told me about it, but I don't think you talked about it here.
Yeah, because so a lot of times when they do surgeries on kidneys or someplace that it's hard to get into, how they do it is they'll, stick in a needle and try and suck out the stuff they need to suck out, but needles can get clogged. So they've recently discovered parasitoid wasps, and a parasite, right, eats its host, but a parasitoid lays its eggs in the host, and then its children eat the host. So, and there are more species of parasitoids than anything on this planet. It's the most successful kind of life form, and usually quite disgusting how they eat it, but though a little cool if you like that stuff. But they stab in the needle, and then they with friction, using friction, they suction their eggs down into the host. So
Ew.
surgeons have taken that and said, we could stick this needle in and we could use suction to get out what we need, and then it wouldn't be clogged. It wouldn't, the needles don't get clogged, and you get a lot more pinpoint accuratism.
Accuracy.
Accuracy?
Accuracy.
Accuracy.
I
Wow,
knew there was something wrong with that word. I was like, it's not.
wow. You're so, that's, okay. That is so cool. Yeah, this was actually on CNN, but I thought it was so interesting that there's this new material or film that this company has created that does radiant cooling. So they were saying in the article that, you know, when at nighttime, usually we get radiant cooling when the objects that have absorbed the sun's heat, let it go back into the atmosphere at nighttime. So that's why sometimes grass will be icy, but the air isn't really cold enough for that. So they've created this cloth that can do it 24 hours a day. They've used nanotechnology. It's highly, it's really almost looks like a mirror, but it's cool to the touch. And what they're hoping to do with it is it goes over an air conditioning unit. It helps to cool the water before it goes into the unit. So it uses less electricity, because they say with heating and of the world, with global warming, we're going to be needing more and more air conditioning throughout the world, and this will help cut back the electricity. And I thought that was pretty darn cool.
That is pretty darn cool.
Oh, very cool.
Okay.
So anyway, thank you, Steve, so much. This has been just a delight and
Thank
so
you.
informative. And I
I
feel full. Don't you feel I feel all filled up for the day.
Good. I didn't.
You're only filled
particularly-
up for 20 minutes.
I didn't feel like it was particularly critical to talk about a particular book or anything. There are my courses and so forth, and there is the life writing site on Facebook. We have a free writing group called Life Writing where we, try to inform people and work with them there. There's over 1,000 people in that group, and you're all welcome to join, ask any questions that you want. I try to be as available as I can possibly be. Like I said, I have an obligation to my teachers to give away everything that I possibly can. That may be the most important mission in my life. It's possible. Being a father and a husband are kind of a part of that in some ways. So thank you very much for the opportunity to reach your audience.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.